Good day, everyone. I am Michelle Melo Ilao, and I am here to have a one-on-one interview with our beloved tourist, no other than Mr. Eric Erickson.
Good day, everyone. I am glad to be here.
It's an honor to have you here, sir. Everyone is curious about you. Can we know about who really is Mr. Eric Erickson is?
Everyone is thinking if I am a Dane, a German, or even an American, Jew, Argentine artist, or psychoanalyst. Actually, I myself are having difficulty answering these questions, and seriously, I had spent my nearly lifetime to determine who I was. I actually never knew who my father is. When it comes to psychoanalysis, seriously speaking, I had no formal training for it, although I undergone psychoanalysis with Anna Freud, the daughter of Sigmund Freud. I do have a child with Down syndrome, and I told to my other children that I die, while only my eldest knew about it. When my child died at the age of 20, my other two children were the one who arranged the burial of the sibling they never knew existed.
That's very tragic. About your theory, the post-Freudian theory, can we know about it?
Post-Freudian theory was really extended Freud's psychosexual development. As for being famous for coining the term identity crisis, I suggested that at each stage, a specific psychosocial struggle contributes to the formation of personality, as I am placing more importance in social and historical influences.
Identity crisis. I see. Well, everyone is really doubting about who they really are. What about the ego? What is it?
Oh, our ego was contrast with Freud's concept of ego. My conception of ego is more powerful, which it is a positive force that creates a self-identity and a sense of I. Our ego helps us adapt to the various conflicts and crises of life and keep us from losing our individuality to the leveling forces of society. The ego is a person's ability to unify experiences and actions in an adaptive manner. We have three aspects of ego, which are body ego, ego ideal, and ego identity. Body ego is our experiences with our body, a way of sensing our physical self as different for other people. With our ideal ego, it represents the image we have of ourselves in comparison to our established ideal, which is responsible for our being to satisfied or dissatisfied not only with our physical self but with our entire personal identity. And when it comes to our ego identity, this is the image that we have to ourselves in the variety of social rules that we play.
You have your social influence in our ego, right? Can we know about it?
Yes, since ego exists as potential at birth, it must emerge from within a cultural environment. With different societies, with their variations in child-rearing practices, it tends to shape personalities that fits the needs and values of the culture. I argue that historically all tribes or nations, including the United States, have developed the pseudo-species, an illusion perpetuated and perpetuated by a particular society that is somehow chosen to be the human species.
I see. Society really influences honing ourselves, right? Can we know more about your epigenetic principle, please?
Our epigenetic development implies to a step-by-step growth of fetal organs. The embryo does not begin as the completely formed little person waiting to nearly expand its structure and form. Rather, it develops or should develop according to a predetermined rate and in a fixed sequence.
You have said about the stages of development. What are they?
Growth takes place according to the epigenetic principle. In every stage of life, there is an interaction of opposites, that is, a conflict between a syntonic element and dysentonic element. Each stage, the conflict between the dystonic and syntonic elements produce an ego quality or ego strength, which I refer as a basic strength. Too little basic strength at any one stage results in a core pathology for that stage. Even if I referred my 8 stages as psychosocial stage, I never lost sight of our biological aspect as human development during each stage, especially from adolescence forward. Personality development is characterized by an identity crisis, which I called it as a turning point or crucial period of increased vulnerability and heightened potential.
I'm curious. Can we know all about the stages you have on your theory?
Of course, infancy, oral sensory mode in which is expanded form of oral stage of Freud, whereas Freud said that the children are focused only in the mouth, in which in mind I can tell that all sensory organs also take in the world. Infants should not only must get, but they also must get someone else to give, which this early training in interpersonal relations helps them learn to eventually. The conflict here in infancy is basic trust versus basic mistrust, in which infants' most significant interpersonal relations are with their primary caregiver, ordinarily their mother. If the infant realizes that their mother will provide food regularly, then they will begin to learn basic trust. However, if they learn basic mistrust, they know correspondence between their oral sensory needs and their environment. The basic strength in infancy is hope. By having both painful and pleasurable experiences, they will learn to expect that future distresses will meet with satisfactory outcomes. The care pathology of infancy here is withdrawal. For with little hope for, they will retreat from the outside world and begin the journey towards serious psychological disturbance. During early childhood or anal urethral muscular mode, in which for me young children receive pleasure not only from mastering the sphincter muscle but also from mastering other body functions such as urinating, walking, throwing, holding, and so on. In this time, children learn to control their body especially in relation to cleanliness and mobility. We have here the conflict autonomy versus shape and doubt, which mean the autonomy, self-expression, shame is the feeling of self-consciousness of being looked and exposed, and doubt the feeling of not being certain, the feeling that something remains hidden and cannot be seen. Will is the basic strength in early childhood, in which this step is the beginning of free will and willpower, but only a beginning. Mature willpower and a significant measure of force will are reserved for later stages or development, but they originate in the rudimentary will that emerges during early childhood. The pathology of early childhood is compulsion, with too little will and too much compulsivity carried forward into the play age as lack of purpose and into the school as lack of confidence. During play age or genital locomotor mode, I believe that the Oedipus complex is one of the several important developments during the play age. In identifying with their parents' preschool age, children are developing locomotion, language skills, curiosity, imagination, and the ability to set goals. The conflict here is initiative versus guilt. Although they begin to adopt initiative in their selection and pursuit of goals, many goals such as marrying their mother or father or leaving home must be either repressed or delayed. The sequence of these taboo are inhibited goals is guilt. The basic strength of this play age is purpose. Children now play with a purpose, competing at games in order to win or to be on top. The core pathology of play age during play age is inhibition. If guilt is the dominant element, children may become compulsively moralistic or overly inhibited. During school age or during latency, with this age, the social world of children is expanding beyond family to include peers, teachers, and other adult models. The sexual latency is important because it allows children to divert their energies to learning the technology of their culture and the strategies of their social interactions. We have here the industry versus superiority. Although school age is a period of little sexual development, it is a time of tremendous social growth. Industry as in tonic quality means industriousness, a willingness to remain busy with something and to finish a job, while inferiority, feelings of inadequacy if their work is sufficient to accomplish their goals. The basic strength during school age is competence, the confidence to use one's physical and cognitive abilities to solve the problems that accompany school age. Competence lays a foundation for cooperative participation in productive adult life, while the core pathology during this age is inertia. If the struggle between industry and inferiority favors either inferiority or an overabundance of industry, children are likely to give up and regret or regress to an earlier stage of development. They may become preoccupied with infantile, genital, and oedipal fantasies and spend most of their time in non-productive play. Adolescence. The period from puberty to young adulthood is one of the most crucial development stages because by the end of this period, a person must gain a firm sense of ego identity. Puberty as genital maturation plays a relatively minor role on my concept of adolescence because it triggers expectations of adult roles yet ahead, roles that are essential social and can be filled only through struggle to attain ego identity. Adolescence is an adaptive phase of personality development, a period of trial and error. We have here the identity versus identity confusion. The search for ego identity reaches a climax during adolescence as young people strive to find out who they are and who they are not. Thus, the seeds of identity begin to sprout during infancy and continues to grow through childhood, the play age, and the school age, defined with positively and negatively as adolescents are deciding what they want to become and what they achieve while also discovering what they do not wish to be and what they did not believe. Identity confusion is a syndrome of problems that includes a divided self-image, an inability to establish intimacy, a sense of time urgency, a lack of concentration or required tasks, and a rejection of family or community standards. The basic strength during adolescence is fidelity, faith in one's ideology. The core pathology of this age is role repudiation, blocks out one's ability in synthesize various self-images and values into a workable identity. It can take the form of either dependence or defiance, which means the dependence is a extreme lack of self-trust or self-confidence and is expressed as shyness or hesitancy to express oneself, while deficiency is stubbornly held to socially unacceptable beliefs and practices simply became these beliefs and practices are unacceptable. During young adulthood, this stage is a relatively short time, lasting perhaps only a few years, which means genitality, in which most of a sexual activity during adolescence is an expression of one's search for identity and is basically self-securing. During young adulthood, we have here the intimacy versus isolation, the ability to fuse one's identity with that of another person without fear or losing it, the incapacity to take chances with one's identity by sharing their true intimacy. We have here the basic strength of love, a mature devotion that overcomes basic differences between men and women. And we have here the core pathology of exclusivity, when it blocks one's abilities to cooperate, complete, or compromise all prerequisite ingredients for intimacy and love. Adulthood is the time when people begin to take their place in society and assume responsibility for whatever society produces. Procreativity refers to the genital contact with an intimate partner. It includes assuming responsibility for the care of offspring that result from sexual contact. Adulthood, we have here the generativity versus stagnation, which generativity concerned with establishing and guiding the next generation includes the procreation of children, the production of work, and the creation of new things and ideas that contribute to an artistic concern for other young people. The stagnation is the generational cycle of productivity and creativity is crippled when people became too absorbed in themselves or too self-indulgent. Care is the basic strength during adulthood, a wide commitment to take care of the persons, the products, and the ideas one has learned to care for, while the care pathology of this adulthood is rejectivity, the unwillingness to take care of certain persons or groups. It manifested as self-centeredness, provincialism, a pseudo-speciation, that is the belief other groups of people are inferior to one's own. During old age or generalized sensuality, one may infer that it means to take pleasure in a variety of different physical sensations, sights, sounds, tastes, odors, embraces, and perhaps genital stimulation. During this old age, we have integrity versus despair. At the end of life, the dystonic quality of despair may prevail, but for people with strong ego who have learned intimacy and who have takes care both people and the things, the syntonic quality of integrity will predominate. Integrity is a means of feeling of wholeness and coherence, an ability to hold together one's sense of I-ness, despite diminishing physical and intellectual powers. Ego integrity is sometimes difficult to maintain when people see that they are losing familiar aspects of their existence. The despair is the literary means to be without hope. The last dystonic quality of the life cycle is in the opposite corner from hope, person's first basic strength. The basic strength during old age is wisdom. I defined it as an informed and detached concern with life itself in the face of death itself. Wisdom draws from and contributes to the traditional knowledge passed from generation to generation. In the old age, people are confined with ultimate issues, including non-existence. The core pathology during old age is disdain, a reaction to feeling in our increasing state of being finished, confused, helpless. Disdain is a continuation of rejectivity.
Wow, that was really awesome, knowing that in every stages of life, there is a psychosocial development. What methods did you use in investigating that kind of personality? Can we know it?
I insisted that personality is a product of history, culture, and biology, and my diverse methods of investigation reflect this. I employed anthropological, historical, sociological, and clinical methods to learn about children, adolescents, mature adults, and elderly people.
About your concept of humanity, you have suggested that there are other factors that might be responsible for differences between women and men, right?
I suggested that although girls and boys have different methods of playing, these differences are at least partly a result of different socialization practices. The anatomy, history, and personality are combined destiny. In other words, Anatomy alone does not determine destiny, but it combines with past events, including social and various personality dimensions, such as temperament, intelligence, to determine who a person will become. Wow, that was really an awesome information. Thank you for sharing your theories with us. We really have learned a lot. We really are grateful to have you here, sir. Thank you for making your time and have a good day.